Hello and welcome to another episode of The Wannabe Entrepreneur, the podcast about what's really like to bootstrap a company. My name is Tiago and today's episode comes a little bit late. I told you last week, normally I release my episodes on Tuesday, but this one is being released on a Friday because I was traveling. And a lot of people not a lot of people, one person asked if I was going to continue doing this podcast now that I am trying to find a job or at least a way to bring a little bit more money to the household. And yes, of course, I will continue to do so. I will continue to do once a week with occasional interviews. By the way, I have one interview ready for you. It will be really, really interesting. I just need to edit and I'll share it with you. But yeah, definitely it's part of the journey. It's part of my indie hacking journey. And I will continue narrating it to you in the Wannabe Entrepreneur podcast. And as I told you as well in the last episode, I don't consider this as canceling my indie hacking career. I'm still a full-time indie hacker with a side job that at this moment will, I guess, bring a little bit more money than my indie hacking businesses, but hopefully that will change soon. In today's episode, I will speak a little bit about my traveling, about what I was able to achieve during traveling, not a lot, but a couple of interesting things, and about my talk and my conference that will happen tomorrow. I'll be doing a panel of discussion about remote working, and as well I will speak about how to become an indie hacker. So I'll speak a little bit about the process of making the talk, and a couple of other interesting things all around my businesses. So yeah, let's get started. We're already late. Let's get started with today's episode. Flying, it's amazing. I've flown in an airplane many, many times, but still every time when it takes off, part of me still wonders, how is this possible? How did humans conquer the skies the way we did? There's so many flights flying every hour, basically. It's incredible, and it completely changed the way we live life and we see the world. It connects people. It makes us more together. We kind of understand other cultures. And one thing about living in Europe that I really, really love is the fact that in 3 hours by plane, you can be in a completely different culture. You can be in Germany where, well, you know, mostly it's more efficiency and more, I guess, rule based. There's a lot of great people, but in general, people are a little bit more cold. Or you can be in Italy where it's kind of the opposite, with people much more open, much more loud. Or you can be in the UK, as I was this past week. I was in Scotland, and the weather was terrible. By the way, it was like raining most of the time. But it's such a different culture. I mean, they use miles instead of kilometers. Miles. They drive in the left side, which was like a huge challenge for me, because we rented a car, and at first I was like, okay, I'm super scared, but I consider myself a good driver, and I really wanted to test this. I wanted to test myself in this situation, driving on the left. And I have to say, it was really weird at first. Even as a pedestrian, when I was walking, and like I didn't know where to look. And then I also didn't know the speed, because it was saying that the maximum speed was 30. It's like 30. That's super slow. And I thought, okay, this is 30 miles per hour, which is about, I guess, 50 kilometers per hour, which already makes sense. So that's something that I really love about traveling. The fact that you can meet other cultures, and we have these preconceptions of how life should be because we don't know anything else, right? So I knew that driving on the right side is the correct one, and I could not even imagine people driving on the left side. For me, that would make no sense. But for them, in London, in Scotland, in I guess Ireland as well, they have always driven on the left side. So for them, driving on the right is weird. But who's to say who's wrong? No one is wrong. I mean, it's just different. So I really, really believe that the world would be a much better place if people would just travel more and meet each other. And I'm not saying about this traveling, like this typical touristic traveling that I really hate, where you basically take your country and your culture to another country, and you assume that everyone should bow over you and do whatever you want. And you see this a lot, especially when you go to these big resorts, when you travel to maybe South America, and there's a lot of these resorts, and people just go there and they expect to have burgers and expect to have, being treated as royalty. I really don't like this kind of traveling. I mean, what I like to say, and my partner is always kind of mocking me. I love for people to believe, even for an instant, that I am a local. So I'm always like, yeah, I don't want to use GPS. They don't. I don't want to. Well, I want to use GPS, but I don't want them to hear the GPS voice, or I don't know. I just want to fit in. And I don't know if I should kind of investigate a little bit this further, and if this is kind of part of my personality. I just want to fit in. Now we are maybe getting a little bit too philosophical and too personal here, but yeah, I love doing this. I love really putting my eyes into someone else's perspective and understand how they live the world. So definitely driving on the left side was a challenge, and it was a very interesting one. I was also telling you about the flight, which I love flying. I love the engineering of flying, but I don't know if I ever told you this, but I used to be completely terrorized of flying. I was super, super afraid. I believe it started with the 9/11. Without noticing, it kind of became a phobia for me because it was on the news. I was quite young. And without noticing, yes, it became a real fear. So for me, my nightmares wouldn't be the plane crashing. My nightmares would be flying. Just me flying. That would be my nightmare. And that's the point I was. And it was really affecting me in my life because I couldn't fly. I would always avoid traveling by plane, and I would get nervous 1 month before the trip. So I I, I somehow was able to overcome this phobia by just flying. And if you have this phobia, actually, it's very common. I think one in every 3 or 4 person have this phobia. So I actually made a video back in the days on YouTube where I narrate my experience and how I was able to overcome it. I can share it on the show notes if it will help you. But yeah, now flying for me is completely, I wouldn't say like 100% normal, but like maybe 95% normal. I'm zero stressed, and it's lovely. I love it. This time was not super lovely because I have this cold. I think you can still notice on the way I speak, and my hearing, like one of my ears was like super. I couldn't decompress, so it was really painful actually. And crazy enough, it bleed. Yes. I was so scared the other day. I woke up and I was like, oh my God, there's blood coming off my ear. I'm going to die. It turns out that it can be normal. Well, quote unquote normal. It was because, yeah, I was sick and I couldn't decompress. And that kind of created a little blister in my eardrum. But anyways, I don't know why I'm telling you this now. This is not nothing to do with indie hacking. It's just a little bit more about my experience. But one thing that has to do with indie hacking is how was I able to take these holidays? Was I able to fully relax or not? And the answer is mostly I was able to relax. And I really came to this realization, which is we indie hackers need to be really good in context switching. We need to be really good at work, and I believe I even did I wrote a tweet about it, like when it's time to work, work, when it's time to rest, rest. This is really simple to say but not really easy to do, because it's really hard to just stop working and start resting, and vice versa. I think it's harder to go from work to rest because the problems, the challenges, the passion, everything is going on in your brain. You cannot simply just turn it off. So this is kind of one of the realizations I had, because I feel that the only time I was fully able to disconnect was when I went for the sailing trip in Croatia. There, I didn't even take my laptop. But most of the times, I want to travel, but I need to take my laptop. I need to work even a little bit. So it's something that I realized. I really tried to, when it was time to work, focus on working, mostly like at night after my partner went to sleep. But when it was time to be present and traveling and getting to know this new culture, I was fully present most of the times. I tried. And I really believe this is a good way. So I will try to do this more in the future, to really separate the time of work and time of rest. And I need to accept that in one day I might have both. I might have the time of resting and the time of working, but try not to kind of blend these two, because it could be really, really bad. So what did I work? I mostly was doing kind of community management. I could do most of it from my phone. The community is really active at this moment, which is really great. There's a couple of people join, actually. Just for you to understand, in 30 minutes, two people joined. In 30 minutes, it's crazy. It's never happened before. I was like, it was late at night, and I got a notification. Yeah, nice, one new member. And then wait, another member. Yeah, so yeah, it's really active. People, I don't know. I think it's been, let's say, a year since I started this, and I finally really see the results of the community in the members. I see that more and more people are increasing their MRR. They are building great things. They are, meeting each other, becoming friends, and making true relationships from the community. And more, I believe that this is good. This is really a great way to help other makers and starting bootstrappers to kickstart their indie hacking career. I even tweeted today that I believe that this kind of paid communities are kind of the future, or should be at least the future of social media. And I'm very biased, right? This is just a thought that came to my mind, so maybe it's not well thought. But what I don't like about social media is the ads. I hate ads, as you know. Like, I don't do ads for almost anything. I don't like the algorithms, because you need to write content in the way that the algorithm likes it, so that you will share it with people, or like you need to make this kind of like clickbait content, which I really don't like. And I don't like that people are fake in social media most of the times. And you are fake. I am fake most of the time, because of this algorithm, because we want to be liked and followed. So we only show the things that work, the things that are nice. We don't show our real selves. And I believe, like, in the community, in WB space, it's not like this, because first of all, we don't have ads. It's a paid community. You pay for it. So there's no ads. There's no algorithm. We just use Slack. And, well, you just share, and there's nothing controlling to whom your post is shown. And third, there's really relationships. Like, I really put a lot of work into that with the events, with a different kind of gamification and different kind of channels. And I connect people every time someone has a question. I connect them with others, and you can see this really, because now, when I remember, like Louisa, for instance, she just traveled to Berlin. She's like I think the first member, and then she met Idas there, which is another member. Like, people are really meeting each other in real life, and I believe that when they meet each other, is like they were friends. It's not awkward. It's not weird. Like, they knew each other already from Slack and from this community. So really, like, real relationships are being built in the community. So yeah, I'm still very passionate about this. I really still see a lot of potential in what we are building in WB space, even though the growth is nothing compared with the top indie hackers out there. Which reminds me to tell you that you should definitely subscribe to Tony Dean's newsletter. I interviewed Tony Dean. By the way, he was also interviewed now on Indie Hackers. So I was the first. Tony Dean came to the WB podcast first, and I didn't hear the interview. I need to hear it on Indie Hackers. But by reading the description, it's basically the same. So we were the first, right? Like we get the bootstrappers here first. Do not forget about it. Like you need to be proud of being a WB listener because yeah, we are like anticipating indie hackers now. But yeah, Tony Dean, it's such a humble entrepreneur. Like and super talented. I think he's making now 12K MRR and he's always building new stuff. And his newsletter is really really good, really good. He describes basically it's a building public newsletter, and he describes what he was able to achieve. He just told us that his conversion rate now is 2%, and it's really good. So I don't know how you maybe just follow him on Twitter and find where you can subscribe to his Substack. But I really recommend because I always learn something, and every time a new issue comes out, I'm like, okay, I need to read this. And besides that, he's super humble. He's always answering. Like I told you, I think when I was testing this design idea, I actually pitched this to him, and he created a poll to see what people were thinking, and this poll got so many answers. So he really helped me out. So really, really cool guy, super humble, and you should definitely follow. But yeah, he's making much, much more money than I am. And one thing that he says in this last issue that he released in his newsletter, he says that we should make a product that can kind of marketing itself. And I don't know what this means. I think I really need to like think about this. But if we think about Black Magic, I think that's the perfect example. He uses Twitter a lot, and people. This is a product for Twitter users, and people that use Black Magic, they end up, I guess, tweeting about it. So it's really, really easy to do this word of mouth situation. So what he always says that he doesn't do marketing. Of course, that he puts a lot of time in writing these newsletters and kind of cultivating this audience, which I believe it's marketing. But I understand it's not writing a lot of like, for instance, what I've done with indie hackers, going there and plugging my community. It doesn't do this. It does not need to do that. And now I think it's being picked up by SEO and everything. So yeah, I like this concept. It's something that I need to think a little bit more about. And if you have thoughts about this, about creating a product that markets itself, let me know because I would love to listen. Tomorrow, I have my first participation on a conference, a proper conference that people paid to be there. And I have two appearances, let's say. Tomorrow I'll be discussing about remote work and the culture, like different cultures in remote work. How do we keep the culture around teams that are basically spread all around the world? And I worked in a remote setup and a remote team when I was working, especially for a weekend. But I wouldn't say I'm super expert on that, but I do like I run this community. In this community, you have people from all over the world, and I believe that I've kind of I have some insights that I can share about like different cultures and how we organize and everything. And like for instance, the bot that I created, I think I told you, the bot has already organized 2 events for me. Amazing! I love this bot. So this kind of tooling that we create to make sure that people can still create relationships within each other. So that will be tomorrow. And then on Saturday, I have my own talk. It's called How to Become an Indie Hacker. And it was not that hard to make the talk, to be honest, because it's something that I've been doing for 1 year. I kind of present my guide. In the end, I will give the guide for free to the people that are in the talk. I will say basically, hey, if you want to get the guys for free, just DM me on Twitter and I will send it, and just say like I was in the talk. So it's a way to get people to add me on Twitter, which is marketing. And yeah, I'm super excited about this, and I hope it will be okay. To be honest, I'm not stressed. I'm not stressed at all because yeah, it's a topic that I know. It's I live this topic. It's something that I'm very passionate about. So I'm super relaxed so far. Maybe yeah, it's always I get nervous and my heart starts pounding 5 minutes before the talk. But yeah, I believe it will be fine. So super excited about it, and I will update you on this in the next episode that will be on a Tuesday. Besides that, community, I was working in community management. There's a bunch of new features and new cool stuff that I need to implement, but that I will do probably next week. One of our members, or two of our members rather, is starting a book club, which is really cool. I love to have like members already working and doing things around the community. So Suvajit is starting this book club, and the idea is that people read the book and then they meet after a month to discuss it. It's a book about indie making, and we are opening this event for anyone, even if you are not a WB member, you can participate. So just like add Suvajit on Twitter, and you can ask him how this works, or you can just DM me. So that's one cool thing that it's happening, and yeah, I've been kind of sending messages around because of my side job. I've been trying to think what I want to do, and I have already a bunch of conversations planned out. I'm also excited for networking possibilities in these conferences that I'm going, and yeah, I'll keep you posted. I don't want to say anything yet. I don't have anything in the pipeline. One thing that I just noticed that by opening myself and asking for a job, basically, I get some offers or potential offers, but I think it's more efficient for me to find the offers that I'm interested in and send a DM instead of the opposite way, because that way I know I'm already like filtering and I know what I want. So it's better that way than like having to say no to people. So that's something that I've learned. And last but not least, working on the indie lottery. It's been a bit delayed, but so far it's working fine. I've been working with React. I've been learning React. I've been learning Tailwind. So a lot of like bleeding edge technologies that everyone is using nowadays. So it's both an opportunity to develop this product further, further, but also a way for me to kind of, get my coding skills, warm up my coding skills for a potential new job. And that's basically it. That's the update I wanted to give you. I'm feeling positive, even though, yeah, I need to find a job, but I still really love the indie hacking career, so I'll continue doing that. Thank you so much for the support of people asking, not asking, but saying that supporting me in this new step is obviously something that I don't want particularly to do, but I see also the benefits on doing so, and having the support of the community and your support. It's really, really amazing. And that's it. That's it for today's episodes. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry for being delayed. You already know. If you want to support this podcast, you can share it with all your indie hacking friends. You can follow me on Twitter. By the way, I changed my handle. Now it's not WB Podcast anymore. It's WB Tiago. And I created an account with the handle WB Podcast, and it's kind of a forwarding account that when you go to this account, now you just see this account is deprecated. Please follow WB Tiago. This is kind of the way I found for because Twitter is really shit in that regard. Like if I change my handle, then if people tagged me in the past, when you click on it, you go to an account that does not exist. So if someone just creates a WB Podcast account, they would kind of be like kind of assume my personality, not personality, my persona there. So what I did was, okay, let me create another account with my old handle and just say forward people to my new handle. So in that case, now the old mentions kind of still work. And I think Twitter could really improve in that regard. But yeah, that was my that was how I was able to fix that situation. So now you can follow me at WB Tiago. You can buy the WB guide, the Bootstrappers Guide, for I think $9 and help me continuing this podcast. You can become a member of the podcast, which is, or the WB Space, $10 per month, and you can also buy the amazing WB merch. This was another Wannabe Entrepreneur. See you next time. How amazing is it that this podcast was already downloaded 23,391 times? 23,000. Oh, these youngsters make me laugh. Thank you. Thank you so much.